I wanted to find a story that could reflect from a very personal point of view, bigger issues where we could all that we could all connect to. And I wanted to do at the time something about that could talk about journalism and freedom of press in Italy. And I started doing some research about independent journalists, and that is how I started reading about Pino and his Telejato and his story, just on an article online. And then I gave him a call, and he was very, very happy to meet me and maybe to take part in the film, and that is how it started. So. It is the alternative to all this, of course, I do think. At the same time, you also need to have a process of the information. So sometimes when we post pictures on Facebook or, everything is so immediate that sometimes you don't really understand what is going on, but you're simply witnessing or seeing an image, so you don't really know. So, of course, it could be an alternative, but at the same time, it's not just a fact. We need to understand it, process it, and you need probably a real journalist to do that job also, to help you understand.
Yeah, I think, following what she just said, I think more than alternative should be a complement. A complement, should be. I think civic journalism can be more direct, more talking about the moment now. But I think more established journalism should help to make us understand those facts. To really conceptualize them and because many of the times, so it's just not by posting like an image, you understand what that image means or that event. I can be sort of like raise attention, but then you need sort of like people who is formed and experienced to also, interpret that fact.
Maybe they have no limits. I don't know. I guess the limits of mainstream media is that, as you were saying, they have pressures, they have sponsors, so maybe sometimes they cannot say something exactly what it is, but it responds to a different agenda, to a different. Maybe the only limit of independent citizen is that sometimes it can be, it can become just an opinion, and you also need to read through a lot of information, and that is great because it makes the reader much more active. Sometimes we just sit in front of television and take everything as if it's, that is what your brain needs to know. Maybe, it needs a proactive, it allows a proactive relation between reader and citizen journalist and so on.
One of the limits that can be a little bit anecdotal is just like that anecdote, that's something that happened, that moment to that person. So just like isolated, then as soon time passes, it loses importance or its meaning. And also the limit depends, because it's civic journalism, the limit is the capacity of the people that is making it. So if the people who makes it don't have limits, or they are really prepared, or they know what they are doing, definitely it shouldn't be an alternative. It should be the journalism that we should do. I think the way it changed different ways, but one of them was that it gave sort of like an alternative for people to to express themselves. Sort of like an alternative that is good to have an alternative, because I think that, in that period, because now I think Partinico has changed quite a lot, and partly thanks to Telejato. There was like a city that didn't have much life or freedom. Usually the mayors that they were not very efficient, So many times to solve the problems, it was to go to sort of like the local kind of corrupted guy, mafia boss, whatever you want to call it. So it gave, an alternative, people that, that things could be done in another way. The thing is that one of the problems that there is like an alternative, but Telejato shouldn't become sort of the alternative to the mayor or the alternative to the, the local authorities. So, sometimes Telejato works sometimes like a line in the middle, no? But it's not the problem of Telejato, it's the problem of the people at the end. O sea, if people, they have a problem with something legal and they go to Telejato instead of the mayor, what can Telejato or Pino do, it should be, the people to really maybe address just Telejato for the things that are more related with communication and those things.
But I think it's he's done it's something ideal for a community. Especially now that Telejato became bigger, and because also for the connection with other association, it's ideal because a whole community has a space of where they can report facts, they can make statements, they can, it's and things happen thanks to that. So in a way, it's quite a proactive situation, the one they live in. Yeah, that was one of the things that we wanted to show through the film. That if it becomes too much of a one-man show, then it feels like sometimes he's right, but sometimes, like every man, he could be wrong. And he has a very powerful tool because he's holding the mic, he's pointing the camera, and he's denouncing, he's reporting. So that is the big risk.
He's a person, so he's human, so he can make mistakes. When he does like a report and he makes a mistake, he gets automatically like a phone call from the person and calls him even in the middle, so he has to go back to the news. And I think on the film also there's like a scene where we saw this. He gets a name wrong, so he accused someone that did something that didn't really do, so he has to. So at the end of the day, I mean, it's up to the people. If you think that he's impartial, he's not saying the right thing, you can switch off the TV. What
we were interested as well is he's a hero, he's doing something great, but also he could, abuse of this power at some point. He could be manipulative, so it's always trying to see the sides. But I think especially now he has welcomed collaboration. So there are more voices. He's still the front man and so on, but I think also he is open up to a variety of other people. So it is really, there's a lot of pluralism now.
That's up to the spectator to decide. I think he's a hero, but heroes are for adolescents, for teenagers. So at the same time, it's difficult to say. I think one should have heroes. At the same time, one should be able to put them down. So, because you should become your own hero at the end of the day. But, I mean, it's more than a hero. We say that he's a quite inspiring person.
No, I think he's I don't like the word hero because also Pino is quite a very, a specific personality, but I think he is a hero. He's definitely not a fool. And in a way, the reason why we made this film is to show how a single person can make a change. So even just by believing that you can change reality. I think by creating some sort of network of support.
He refused that?
Yeah, Pino refused that at the beginning, and then he sort of accepted.
I still watching the film sometimes, and when I watch that part of the film, I say, I'm with him, It's like, why should compromise? You know, it's his TV. He's the one who has to go every morning to do the news, and these other people are not the ones who have to wake up every morning to go to do the news. At the same time, he's alive and he can do what he does because all those people, you know, sort of support him. I mean, the thing of being killed or not being killed at the end of the day is just because there's like many people behind him. So if someone tries to do something against him, it's like the whole civil movement, you know, will go against them. So independency, I mean, sometimes you can be independent and be completely wrong. So sometimes it's good to be dependent of, you know, people, you know.